As funding for SNAP, otherwise known as food stamps, hangs in the balance across all 50 states in this country, I have one question for Republicans and MAGA voters, and I'll ask that question. But before I do, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, and let me know what you think about this. Is this what you voted for, MAGA? Is food stamps being paused for the first time ever in the history of our country what you voted for when Donald Trump was gallivanting across the country, telling voters, his ravenous, very, very faithful supporters across this country, telling them that cost of living is too high. Your groceries are too high. Elect me and I will be the one to make your life a little bit easier. Is this what you voted for when Donald Trump told you that? I got an article here from you guys from NBC News where it says SNAP recipients told to buy shelf-stable food or go to food banks as deadline looms. Recipients of SNAP food assistance benefits across the country face a looming deadline. Come November 1st, their cards may not get refilled because of the government shutdown in Washington. SNAP, which serves 42 million people each month, allocates money to states on a monthly basis. Benefits were largely uninterrupted over the past 3 weeks because funding for October was allocated to states before the shutdown began on October 1st. Well, thank God for that. But in a letter to SNAP agency and regional directors on October 10, the Department of Agriculture warned that there would not be enough funding to pay full SNAP benefits, also known as food stamps, in November if the shutdown persists. Many states have announced that they plan to suspend SNAP benefits if the shutdown continues into next month. That could upend people's ability to buy food on an unprecedented scale. The program has not lapsed during any government shutdown in recent history. As November 1st approaches, some state leaders are recommending that people turn to food banks or use their remaining benefits to buy non-perishable items. This is scary, guys. If you have accrued SNAP benefits from previous months on your account, use those funds now to buy shelf-stable foods that can last through November and beyond, the Arkansas Department of Health Services says on its website. But food banks say it will be impossible to fill the gap. There's no way that our charitable food network or the system in this country can provide that much food overnight or quickly. It's an impossible task, said Catherine D'Amato, CEO of the Greater Boston Food Bank. Her organization is already receiving calls from people asking where they can go to feed their families, she said. D'Amato estimated that suspending SNAP benefits would create a deficit of up to 56 million meals in Massachusetts in November. 56 million meals in just Massachusetts? At least one state, Pennsylvania, has already stopped issuing SNAP benefits. The state announced that starting October 16, SNAP benefits will not be paid until the federal government shutdown ends and funds are released to Pennsylvania. Texas, meanwhile, said next month SNAP benefits won't be issued if the shutdown continues past October 27. It's already going to do that. The Senate is on recess for the next 3 days. They're not going to be back until the 27th. And in Wisconsin, SNAP recipients got a letter this week informing them that their remaining funds from October may not carry over. Benefits may not be available in November, the letter said. This may include any funds remaining on your card at the end of October. You may want to use your benefits to stock up on food before the end of October. Just absolutely unprecedented, absolutely shocking statements coming from these state SNAP officials where they're saying, yeah, better stock up because we're not sure there's going to be money, and it's looking more and more likely like there's not going to be funding for SNAP. You know, I would just like to point out that red states are typically much more reliant on all of the federal assistance programs, but SNAP being one of the key ones, people in red states are very, very much reliant on these programs, just as much as people in blue states are, if not more. And I'll say again, is this what you voted for? People in red states who, when Donald Trump told you that lowering the cost of groceries was his number one priority, were you voting for the Republican Party, who controls all three branches of government, not being ready and willing and able to negotiate with Democrats to end the government shutdown so that SNAP can get funded? This is you can't imagine that this is going to be something that is going to be politically tenable for the Republican Party for too long. And they're trying to do this whole thing of pointing the finger at Democrats and going, oh, the Democrats don't want to they want to give healthcare to illegal people, and they care more about illegals than they do the American people. But it's like, wait, no, hold on here, right? If the Republican Party was the one that they were so aghast at the idea of there being any sort of stoppage to SNAP funding for any amount of time, right? They would put this whole healthcare subsidy thing aside and go, okay, maybe we're not 100% excited about these certain COVID era Obamacare healthcare subsidies being extended, but we're going to go ahead and go forward with that anyways, because we can't possibly have SNAP being impacted, right? The Republicans are the party in power. They control the levers, and they have the power to end the shutdown and to get SNAP in people's accounts. But are they going to do that? No, they're not. And the Democratic Party, they need to hold the line as we continue to approach this unprecedented territory. And they need to keep making the point that, again, that the Republicans control all three branches of government. If they want this shutdown to end, they could do it. And if Donald Trump, just yesterday, Caroline Leavitt, she said during the White House press briefing that the ballroom is Donald Trump's main priority right now. This hideous ballroom that they have completely demolished the east wing of the White House to pave way for this, Trump's ultimate vanity project of bringing a ballroom to Washington, D.C. Caroline Leavitt said that is what the president is mainly focusing on right now. So if you're somebody that has a family and you receive SNAP and you are looking at your SNAP account and going, oh crap, I better go and spend the rest of it so I can have enough food to make it through October, and I better start looking up some non-perishable foods so that I can have enough food to make it through the month and to feed my family. If you're somebody that is thinking that right now, just know that the President of the United States' main priority as of right now is demolishing the White House to build a ballroom. We just couldn't be there couldn't be ever a more clear example of where the priorities of the two major parties in America lies. And I don't want to hear anyone, not that I hear this too often anymore, but anyone saying both parties are the same, miss me with it. The Democratic Party is the only party that is attempting to govern, attempting to keep the wheels of government rolling, and to keep programs that people have come to rely on to make sure that they are still there and still funded. And the Republicans, they're not a party of governing. They're a party of breaking things and controlling the narrative after that to make it look like the Democrats' fault. But the thing is that when it's just a lot harder to do that when you control all three branches of government, and the American people can very clearly see that. And also that, your head guy, the head honcho, Donald Trump, told people that his main priority in this election, if he was to be elected, when he was campaigning, that his administration would be the one to make the economy stronger, lower cost of living. All this snake oil that was peddled to the American people that they bought up, and we unfortunately elected Donald Trump a second time. And people all across this country on that night when Donald Trump came out and gave his late night his late night 3 a.m. or whatever victory speech that he gave, I sat there and watched with this pit in my stomach of anxiety, fear, a bit of hopelessness, because I realized what it meant for families across this country who are just trying to make ends meet. And I realized that this is a very, very impactful moment that is going to be, the results and the effects of Donald Trump being elected a second time was going to be something that was going to be a long-lasting effect and very, very hard to just overcome overnight. And, people envisioned this. People were, the reason that I think a lot of people, not only myself, were feeling that way is because they were recognizing what Donald Trump would do to this country with his leadership. And we are just seeing the latest example of it with this government shutdown continuing to drag on. And, we're at a complete impasse, and the Senate has gone on recess, and we'll see where it heads. But I think that given that the majority of the American people are blaming the Republican Party for this, the Democrats should not blink. They should not have their empathy used against them, and they should not. This is a moment where if we are to capitulate to the Republicans, there is only going to be more and more of a disastrous outcomes to deal with further down the line, right? We might, trying to do everything possible to get the government funded so that SNAP doesn't run out in the short term. That if they were trying to do that in this moment, I think that ultimately it would have more of a disastrous outcome than what they're currently doing, because what you're signaling then to the Republicans is that you can still boss us around, even though you guys are the ones that are in power. So yeah, did you vote for this? Did you vote for this, Republicans? I sure hope not. And I hope that this government shutdown can end. I hope that SNAP is funded in all 50 states. But it's looking bleak, and the Republicans are to blame for this. That's all I got for you guys in this one. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.